Hello, friends, and welcome to Virtual Strangers 26. Ruuts, is it a half a year already?
It's been half a year, man. Yeah.
6 months. 6 months of bringing you the best in VR news, reviews, and opinions. The only opinions that count. My opinion and my good friend Ruuts. Ruuts, how's life been treating you?
It's great. Just finished my birthday. I brought my daughter's boyfriend into VR for the first time, and he was a champ. He did Gunheart. He did. I mean, I threw him into every game that once I realized he wasn't going to get sick. I threw him into a lot of cool games. In Death. See what else? Rec Room. Just anything I could think of that was cool, and he loved every game I put him in. So that was really cool.
Was his first experience?
Yeah, he'd never been in VR before, and he was blown away. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, maybe we'll have another convert for the holidays this year, huh?
yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, let me be the first, or I guess last, as it were, person to wish you a happy 30th birthday.
Oh
And
yeah, thank you, man. Damn, man. It's been a long 30 years. It sure has.
anyway, let's get to it here. We have a long list of stuff to get to here today. It's that week again. It's that VR week of the year. Uh, the way that flat gamers look at E3, it's kind of the way VR gamers look at this week. And I'm talking, of course, about Oculus Connect 6. Oculus Connect 6 is coming up this next week, Wednesday and Thursday, in, I believe, is it San Jose, California? Doesn't matter. Nobody's going. The people that are going are already on their way there. And those of us who are lucky enough to catch it from home, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. Ruuts, I'm excited. I did the rough outline like I always do a couple days ago. I got in there earlier today, started filling in some of the notes for this week's program. And as I go down the line and I start thinking about all the things that we might hear about at this year's Oculus Connect 6, I just get more and more and more hyped. Where's your hype level at for this thing?
Pretty high actually, because I was going down that same list, and I was even pulling some trailers, and I'm like, my lord, there's some good stuff. You know, I was just really, I mean, one game that I was really blown away, and every time I look at is Asgard's Wrath, and I just I know we've talked about it quite a bit on the show, and it's taken forever, but everything about this game looks so polished. And it's got a little shark guy, and anytime there's a little shark guy, Ruuts is happy. I just everything about it, man. I'm just really, really looking forward to this game, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the first place that you go with it when we talk about Oculus Connect 6 is software, because I do believe that that's going to be the main drive this year. The main focus for Oculus is going to be on their software and building up their library. I got thinking about Oculus Connect 6 and how on earth are they going to follow Oculus Connect 5? Just for a moment, think back to a year ago, the way the state of VR 1 year ago today. It was Sony's year. At this point, there was a new PSVR announcement literally weekly at this time last year, and virtually nothing going on outside of PlayStation VR. VR is dead was a meme that we were talking about at least once a week. Someone was saying this. Everybody's super defensive about it. When some mid-level YouTuber would say it, it would make headlines in the VR community, because everyone was so defensive, and the reason why was because there just really wasn't much going on with VR. Then came Oculus Connect 5. Then came the announcement of Oculus Quest, and like Quest or hate Quest, ever since that announcement, it has been uphill for the whole of VR, ever since then. And whereas last year was Sony's year, this year has most definitely been an Oculus year. They're running away with it. It's not even close. This is an Oculus year. We've got new hardware from literally every major manufacturer this year. Refresh, not Gen 2, hardware refresh. But so I'm thinking to myself, how does Oculus follow this? Obviously, they put out a new PC VR headset this year. They put out the first ever 6DoF standalone this year. They're not going to be releasing new hardware again this year or probably even next year. So what does that leave? That leaves software. We've got new hardware. Now we have to build the library for this new hardware. And I think that this year's OC6 is going to be very, very software centric. And I think that first and foremost among these titles that they're going to be featuring, of course, is that long-awaited Respawn Entertainment first-person shooter game that we were promised some 2 years ago at our Oculus Connect 4. We don't know a lot about this title, Ruuts. We know that Respawn has brought us high-level flat games like Titanfall and Apex Legends. We know back at Oculus Connect 4 that this game was targeted for 2019, which is ticking down rather quickly. They're claiming that this is going to be the first ever AAA level VR first-person shooter. So, Ruuts, a lot of people are speculating that this is probably going to be more of a simulation type shooter than, a lot of the shooters we get in VR are science fiction type things. People don't think that this is the direction that Respawn's going to take it. They think that this may be a World War II or a Vietnam era combat simulation. If the quality is where it needs to be, and there's a lengthy story campaign to this game, are you going to be hyped for it? Or are you looking forward to it?
Oh yeah, I'm looking for some type of game like this, and have for since I came into VR. One thing that I would note about the situation you were talking about before, about what was going on a year before, the devs were even salty about VR a year ago. They were quick to defend. If you tried to link them to VR, they were quick to say, "No, wait a minute, we're not doing VR. Don't put us in that box." Now a lot of devs or most devs are way open to it, talking about it like, "Oh yeah, we've been involved, interested forever." It's just they're jumping on the bandwagon. I just think that the Quest was the deal breaker. It was one more console like the PlayStation VR wasn't enough to get everybody behind it developer wise. But now you've got two big dogs that are pushing sales like crazy. And it's just getting better and better. I think this game is going to be phenomenal. We don't know much about it, but we know about the developers, and we know that as they put more and more money into it, they just keep blowing us away. And I don't think that this is going to be like, at some point we have to get a game or get to an experience where it's like, oh, we're not let down at all. We're just blown away. And I keep looking at Stormland, Asgard's Wrath, the ones with the big studios, the big money behind it, and man, they just look phenomenal. And I think this is the year. I think 2019, 2020 is the year software convinces people that VR is where it's at, and we see a mass adoption after the next year to year and a half, if it not even sooner.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. The tides have already turned. Oculus Quest, as you mentioned, 100%. The announcement of Quest was the catalyst, and rising tides raise all ships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, this Respawn title in particular, again, we don't know much about it this week, but tune in next week because we most certainly will. Oculus is going to be unveiling that. this week. It's going to be playable at OC6. So we're going to get to hear from all those who are in attendance. Maybe even Anthony might get to play this title.
Zim talk. Yeah, I know Zim's there.
Yeah, lots of people are going to be there. And we're going to know a lot more about this title. And I would imagine a lot more. We're going to get more information, not only about, you mentioned Stormlands and Asgard's Wrath. We've known that these are coming. We've known that they've been targeted for 2019. Very likely we could get some release dates for those titles at OC6. But what else? We've got Phantom Covert Ops, the stealth game that was recently announced to be coming from Oculus Studios. Population 1 has been notorious by its absence from the news this last few months. It was said to be close to ready last time we heard anything about it, and that's been a few months now, so very likely we could hear something about Population 1 this week. And then we go into the realm of things we don't know about. Ubisoft. We've reported on this channel many times how strong the rumors are of an alliance between Oculus and Ubisoft. And just a couple weeks ago, Ubisoft announced that they are indeed working on a VR title for one of their big IPs. And it lends a lot of credence to the rumor that they have this alliance with Oculus. And if that seems to be the case, we're going to hear about it most likely this week. There have been rumors about an alliance between Oculus and Microsoft, something that goes in hand with these partnerships with big devs like Ubisoft. If that's true, we will know this week. That's not something that they're just going to sit on. Oculus generally spills their beans pretty well when they have Oculus Connect. So there's a whole bevy of rumors and confirmed titles that we're going to get some information about this week. And by this time next week on Virtual Strangers 27, we're going to have a lot better picture of where VR, and especially PC VR, is going to be heading within the next 12 months. Now, when it comes to hardware, they're going to talk about hardware. Don't get me wrong. Just because they're not going to be announcing a new hardware product doesn't mean that they're not going to talk about hardware. They always have these interesting talks about Facebook research labs. So I imagine we're going to hear some stuff about eye tracking and foveated rendering like we did last year. We're going to hear more about this realistic avatar software that they've been developing. Possibly could hear something about 5G cloud streaming, and so on and so forth. Ruuts, is there anything that you're, any particular hardware related news that you're keeping an eye out for, something that you're particularly interested in that you're going to be watching for this year?
From Oculus, no. One thing I wish that I could see, which I won't see because of this product we're showing right here. I'd like a wireless adapter. I don't know why we don't have one yet. It makes no sense to me outside of not wanting to step on the Quest toes, but just because someone doesn't have hardware to run a PC version doesn't mean I should be penalized and not be able to go wireless. It's really the only thing that HTC has, like Mamefan was even saying for the Cosmos, that's a reason to buy it. And he's right. That is one reason to buy the Cosmos, because you can't get wireless on the Oculus Rift S or Rift, unless you go the whatever that product is. I don't even know. With all that weirdness, I just want a wireless adapter from Oculus. Let me, dance around and play Dance Central without wires and untethered. The Ruuts' dream will be, it's not my dream, but yeah, I want to be untethered.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because While sure, it's possible that they could announce such hardware at OC6 this week, there's actually rumors that there is going to be an announcement of PC streaming support for Oculus Quest.
Hmm.
Now, this could be a move by Oculus to counteract, Vive Cosmos, which is coming up in just a few weeks. Obviously, they're touting their wireless solution, even though it's an adapter. You've got to buy and add on to their to the hardware that you're already paying for. We know that Oculus Quest is capable of streaming from PC. The sideload community has shown us this by streaming Steam VR on it. And sure, there's some latency, but I imagine a native solution coming from Oculus and the very, very talented people that work there, I imagine will work even better than the side-loaded virtual desktop solution that that the sideload community has been using for months now at this point. Ruuts, let's say Oculus announces this functionality, and that it's true what people have been saying, that this is going to be a software-based thing. You're not going to have to buy an adapter. You're going to be able to download software onto your Quest, onto your PC, and all you're going to need is a good 5 gigahertz router. And you're going to be able to stream stuff from your Oculus Rift library into the Quest and play it with minimal latency. Is that enough to finally persuade you to go out there and drop the $4 and pick up the Oculus Quest?
Well, see, it's gonna be $5 for me because I have to get the extra space. I just have to.
My bad.
But nah, I don't know if that would draw me in. I mean, it'd be nice, but see, I mean, everything I can play on the Quest, I can play on my Rift. So, again, aside from wireless, I mean, I guess, but see, I don't know, would the fidelity be the same, or would I be limited as far as like which games I could play? Would it be more like minimal graphic wise, that type of stuff? Or, if you could play everything and it would run just as good, yeah, I guess there'd be a lot, open your library up. That's one of the biggest things that sucks about Quest is they're so weird about their games. There's so many good games that could be on there right now. They won't let on there for whatever reasons we discussed in the past.
Yeah, I would imagine there would be no graphical compromises made. This is the graphical power is all coming from your PC. The only question with the thing would be latency.
Yeah, if the latency worked great, then absolutely, yeah, hell yeah, I could play just about anything. But my question is, why would the Quest want to do that? Then, now I don't have to, or Oculus, why I don't have to buy those games on Quest because I can just sideload every game I've got on my Rift. I don't know. The devs would definitely lose out, wouldn't they?
No, absolutely not, because all of the sudden, not only are people buying more apps in the Rift store instead of buying them in Steam VR like they've been doing for the past couple of years, but the majority of the people who have Quests, they don't have PCs that are capable of running VR anyway. So most of the people, even if they do implement something like this, it's still going to be 4 out of 5 people that are buying Quest are buying it as a standalone. So I don't think it would impact that at all. And I think the reason why is just what you said a moment ago. People want a wireless solution. And Vive Cosmos is promising it. And I think that if Oculus has the technology, I mean, people are doing it anyway, right? People are sideloading it. They're doing it anyway. So why not siphon off some of that business that's going to Steam VR right now and bring it back over to the Oculus side? I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I still think at this point, at least from comfort wise, I'd prefer a wireless adapter for the Rift S. But although you did say the Oculus Quest, you played Angry Birds for like 2 hours straight and didn't feel like you wanted to quit. So that's a testament to all the VR covers and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's 100% VR cover, and it's getting the right fit with your straps. It's hard to get that thing in just right. It's easy to put it on too tight and not realize it until it starts to really wear on you. But when you get it really dialed in, yeah, you're right. I played completely through Angry Birds this week. I played all four of the regular levels. I played both of the spooky levels. In that first session, I spent over 2 hours in it, and I just quit because I had something else to do. It wasn't because it was uncomfortable. So yeah, there are comfort solutions coming for it. I just think that it's great the way that they're supporting this product, and maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but who knows? In a couple of years, Oculus may be on the level of Sony and may surpass Sony for the number one spot in VR. But we're getting a little sidetracked here. This just another thing that has been rumored to be announced at OC6. So there you have it, folks. I mean, we've got handfuls of software that we know are coming that we're going to get more info on. We've got a bunch more rumors, software related and hardware related. What do you think that we're going to hear at OC6? What do you want to hear come out of OC6? Leave a comment down below and let's talk about it. So we all want to be there, right? These keynote addresses always seem to be super awesome events. I watch it every year. I want to be there. Last year, I remember tweeting into the YouTube feed, "Why not in VR? Why am I not front and center right now with my headset on?" Well, they heard us, folks. This year, you're going to be able to watch this event live in VR. And which headset you're using is going to determine the method that you want to go about this. If you have an Oculus Quest or an Oculus Go, you can watch the keynote from both day 1 and day 2 live via Oculus venues. All you have to do is log into your Oculus account and subscribe to it, and you'll have access. You'll just go. I've never used venues before, but from what I hear, it's fairly simple process. You just go in there and choose what you want to watch, and you're right there in a virtual arena watching the event in 3D. Wonderful. So let's say you don't have those headsets and you want to watch it. Well, big screen. Big screen is going to be broadcasting again both keynotes, day 1, day 2. Day 1 is going to be all the major announcements are going to happen during the day 1 keynote, and day 2 are more of the talks from high-profile Oculus people like Carmack, for example. His annual talk will come during the day 2 keynote. You can find out more details about the events and the schedule online, but if you are interested in watching these events in VR, as I am, you can definitely do so via either Oculus venues or big screen. All right, so that's going to wrap up our preview of Oculus Connect 6. It's going to be a big week for VR, and it's not just because of OC6. There's more stuff this week, folks. Just this past week, Sony announced that the third State of Play is going to take place the day before our Oculus OC5. It's going to take place on Tuesday, the 24th of September, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this time it's going to run for 20 minutes. Last time it only ran for 10, double the length this time. They're promising us a new format and maybe even a host. Most likely Sid Schumann, but could be anyone, I guess. It is said to include, quote, new game reveals, new content from PlayStation's worldwide studios, and a host of other updates. Ruuts, the first State of Play, jam-packed, so full of VR news that the flat gamers nearly rioted over it. They were so pissed that it was all pretty much all VR stuff. So this last one, just 10 minutes, but all flat stuff pretty much, no VR. Sony's kind of playing this up to be a bigger event this time. Do you think we're going to see any VR stuff?
Absolutely. Everything you just said before, this year's is different, like everybody has a different mentality. Sony is definitely in the game when it comes to VR, and they're definitely leading it really at this point. So I'd be surprised if there is no VR. I'd be surprised if it's not 50-50 at this point, to be honest.
Well, I do expect some VR. I don't expect quite that much VR, and the reason why...
Gotta be optimistic.
Right. Wish it into existence.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, the reason why I know that that's not going to be the case is because this very same day, September 24th, Tuesday, Naughty Dog is holding a closed media event for select invited members of the media to come and check out The Last of Us 2. And this is probably the single most highly anticipated flat game out there right now. This has been in development for years. I'm like pumped for this game, and I don't even play flat games, but I played the first The Last of Us. I played it all the way through and beat it. Masterpiece of a game. I'm 100% going to play this one as soon as it comes out. So we imagine that The Last of Us Part 2 is going to be the centerpiece of the state of play. We're gonna find out some more information about this game. Hopefully, we're gonna get a release date for it. Maybe they'll announce some details, not only about the gameplay modes, but it may be about some of the different editions that are going to launch when this thing comes out. I expect at least a third of the 20 minutes, probably 7 or 8 minutes, to be devoted just to The Last of Us 2. That said, there's a lot of PSVR stuff that we could learn about, specifically Iron Man VR. This is the one that they were really pushing back at E3. This is the really the only big AAA quality VR title that we know of that's coming from Sony right now. So we may get a release date for this, maybe some more gameplay footage. But the fact that this is the only big game that we know about coming for PSVR just tells me that there are announcements to be made, and this week could very well be it. What do you think?
Oh, I agree. I'm hoping for some announcements. I want to hear about like the date for Iron Man, or even a window for the date for Iron Man. Maybe some more, like you said, game footage. And The Last of Us too. When you play that, would you play it in your headset on a screen, or would you just play it regular on TV?
I'd certainly try it. I haven't played any flat games in my headset. I don't really know. The PSVR headset's not as on the level of clarity as the new Oculus headsets. So I don't know. Now, maybe is there a way for me to stream it through my PC capture card? I don't know. I haven't really messed with that stuff too much lately. But yeah, I'm not opposed to it, especially if I could get some kind of 3D mode or something going on. But I guess that's more in the realm of PC games than it is console. But 100% I'm going to be playing it, and I very well could play it in the headset. Do you flat game in your headsets?
I've tried a little bit, but not as much as like Alex or Jorillo or anything. Even outside of Vorpex, I know that they've done it. My mindset is comfort, and usually if I'm playing a flat game, maybe I'm streaming or I just don't feel like wearing the headset at that point, and that's why I'm playing a flat game. So, but I was just thinking as I was watching that Last of Us 2 footage, that could easily be in VR, and the only difference would be you would need to be able to look around and see the environment, but everything you're seeing, we're crawling around, going up those cars, doing all that stuff, all of that could be done in VR. The only difference is you know, aside from the way it looked, you know, obviously the bow and arrow, using the bow and arrow movements and so forth. But even if it was just the game and I pushed the button to shoot the arrow, I know a lot of people would bitch and say, oh, this isn't authentic bow and arrow. I just want it to be in VR. That would be so cool. And I don't think it would be that hard anymore for them to do it. It really, in my mind, there's no reason not to. Even if it's 6 months down the road, throw it out there in VR and resell it again, full price. I'll buy it.
Yeah, dude, The Last of Us in VR would be the greatest game of all time. That game is so good. The storytelling, the voice acting, the graphics, the everything about it is perfect. It's a great game. And if that were to ever come to VR, man, would that be so good. And yeah, what you're saying is absolutely correct. Resident Evil 7, 100% gamepad game. Awesome in VR. It's about the immersion, and 75% of the immersion from VR comes from the 3D visuals, the 360 world around you. So if you've got the visuals and the sound, you've got most of the experience. You don't have to stand up and pantomime what the game character's doing to feel like you're a part of the world.
Well, especially if you take the opposite, you know, if you take into consideration, you know, and this is what gets me about people, and I love people, but sometimes they just baffle me. They bitch because they say, okay, well, I want my hands in VR and I want to do this. I don't want to play it on a gamepad. But your other option is to play it on a gamepad on a flat screen.
Right.
So, like, just suck it up and get in VR and enjoy the gamepad, enjoy it for what it is. And maybe The Last of Us 3 will be, you know, full locomotion with, you know, touch controllers, even though I don't think we'll see Last of Us 2. Or, you know, rather PlayStation moves. I think you said it before, with that game, it may be the graphics being too good for the current hardware of PlayStation, for the vanilla at least.
Well, that's a good thing. The life cycle is winding down for PlayStation 4, but PSVR carries on because we've already been promised backward compatibility through the next gen hardware day one. So good riddance, PS4. I can't wait to get my PS5. There's rumors now actually that they're going to launch with 2 models of PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 Pro is rumored to launch concurrently with PlayStation 5. So I'm sure it'll be expensive as all fuck, but awesome. I'm all for it.
What do you think about a possible announcement, not on a date per se of I mean, that is hardware that they could announce as well at this Sony State of Play, or is it only software for the State of Play?
That they have come out and said definitively that there will be no PS5 news at this State of Play. So
yeah, so they're doing damage control, saying, whoa, just make sure that you're not expecting this, because I know you're probably going to freak out somebody.
Yeah, they know how what happens when hype levels get too high, so that they just nipped that one right in the bud immediately.
It's like I went to a football game last year, and they literally had somebody standing next to the sign that says to tie your shoelaces, telling you verbally to tie your shoelaces. We're getting to that point, people. We're entering idiocracy, and we're zooming fast. Oh, anyway.
All right. So a big week, right? I mean, we've got OC6 coming up. It's going to be all about the games. And let's be honest. I mean, look at the focus of our channel. It's about the games, people. Sure, the hardware's nice, but the hardware would be nothing to me if it weren't for the awesome games. And that's what the drive is going to be, for, at least for the next 6 months in our industry. It's going to be all about the games. And OC6, I believe, is going to reflect that. I think to some extent, Sony's state of play is going to reflect that. And to kick off this awesome week talking about VR games, we're going to get some more information on Pistol Whip on Monday. So the day before State of Play, Cloudhead Games is planning to premiere the first full trailer for its upcoming VR game, Pistol Whip. Monday, September 23rd, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to see some more gameplay. We're going to see the first full-length trailer, and then you can go to Upload VR at some point in the day after that. Upload VR is going to have an exclusive interview with some of the developers at Cloudhead as the company offers its first detailed look at Pistol Whip since E3. Ruuts, coming out of E3, I was shocked at people's response to Pistol Whip. I see this here, and I see Super Hot. I see Audica. I see a little Beat Blaster. I see a lot of potential here. I think that this is a sleeper title for Game of the Year, and people were just kind of underwhelmed with this. And again, it kind of shocked me. What did you think about Pistol Whip? And is this something on the top of your most anticipated list the way it is for me?
Oh yeah, hell yeah! It looks badass. Like you said, it looks like a combination between all those games that I love already. I think I don't know what the problem is. I think part of it is it doesn't visually look that good from the video, and so some people just don't like. I've played so many games in VR that I can usually look at something and say, okay, this is probably 99% going to look good in VR. The mechanics, the ducking, it looks like it's fast paced. It looks amazing to me. Maybe it was the other stuff that was being announced kind of overshadowed this. So they didn't really look at it, close enough. But I thought this game looked really amazing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's such a unique art style. It looks beautiful. I don't think it's intended to look realistic. And I don't know when the VR community became such graphics whores, to tell you the truth. I mean, it was a year and a half ago, that it was a tagline in the community that graphics aren't everything, that it's about the gameplay and the immersion. But now all of a sudden we've kind of all reverted back to our flat gamer tendencies and judging every game by what the trailer looks like. And I think, especially in the case of this game, that's a big mistake.
Yeah, people don't know what they want anymore. That's the problem. When it's hot, it's too hot. They want it to be cold, and then it's too cold. And with the games, it's very bizarre. Like it just keeps getting weirder. Like the weirdest thing I heard this last year was when people were saying, "Oh, Defector's only $20. That's too cheap." And I was like, "What?" Like at some point, I think society's losing it, and we just need to roll with it. But I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this one just as kind of the cherry on top of the ice cream hot fudge sundae that is this coming week in VR. A lot of what we've said thus far in the show has been speculation, but there's one thing we know for sure, and that's we're going to find out a lot more about A, the Respawn title, and B, Pistol Whip. And both of those games are firmly within my top 10 most anticipated VR games going forward. So probably, Pistol Whip's right up there for me, man. I think this is going to be an awesome experience. I think it's going to be its own genre. I think it's going to be an original game, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at how good it is.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so that's enough speculation about the week ahead. Come back next week to Virtual Strangers 27, and we'll see how close we were. Obviously, all of this stuff isn't going to come to pass, but I guarantee you a good amount of it will. We're going to be able to root out the false rumors from the true, and we're going to know a lot more about the state of VR 1 week from today, so be sure to tune in for that discussion. All right, so moving on from this awesome upcoming week of VR news, on to some cold, hard news from this past week. And first of all, let's talk a little bit, just a minute, about Blood and Truth. I've already proclaimed this as the front runner for my game of the year, but I don't know if it will remain so through this next week or not. But we got a second big DLC drop for Blood and Truth. Totally unexpected this time. We knew the first one was coming. We did not know this one was coming. And fairly sizable content increase here. Dropped this past Wednesday, September 17th. Includes 5 new skeet-based shooting challenges that are PSVR AIM compatible. So they're bringing the aim controller in now, but it's for a special mode. All scoring-based, shooting-based challenge modes. In addition to that, they're adding in the hard difficulty level, and you can use the hard level by playing standalone missions that you've already beaten, or you can go back into the New Game Plus, play through the entire game on the hard difficulty, and get a special achievement for it. Ruuts, do you think that the addition of aim controller support is going to mean that they're working on aim support for the entire game?
I hope so, because if they don't, I don't see the point. Like, I'm not running in there to play skeet shooting. Like the whole draw, like we've said before, man, I will buy a game to play a game through with the aim controller, or it could be something that I'm like, yeah, I have this on PC, but I want to play it again on PlayStation because of the aim. It's a draw, but not to skeet shoot. That just seems really bizarre. So I would be very surprised if they did that,
Well, I will say this about those skeet challenges. This ain't duck hunt. This isn't you going out into a grassy field and shooting skeet. These are very I didn't take notes on these gameplay modes, but they're very unique challenge modes that involve moving targets. I think you're going to be surprised at how fun this actually is. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it now. Tune in tomorrow on the Monday show, and Ruuts and I are going to be talking about Blood and Truth and the update. I don't know if he's going to pick up his campaign and go on from there, or if he's going to try some of the new content out. But I know for certain that I'm going to be trying out some of the aim controller stuff. So tune in tomorrow for our impressions on that. Hard level. A welcome addition for me. I mean, the game wasn't easy to start with, but I didn't struggle to beat this game. What about you, Ruuts? Do you think hard level, is that something that you're looking forward to trying out, or is that far off in the future for you?
No, I want to try it. I'll try it even if I try it on a level or two. I will try it just to see. Like you said, you can do it on past levels. That's pretty cool, actually, because I don't necessarily want to go through the entire game. I want to beat the game. I haven't beat the game yet. Like you were saying the other day, you can. I'm so surprised at all the games you haven't been in, and you are constantly surprised at all the games that I haven't finished, because this was like your top. Like I couldn't stop playing. I get easily distracted. I get into other games, and then it becomes a backlog game. And so it's kind of cool that we're going to go back on the Monday show and check it out. So I definitely will check that out. I will definitely check out the skeet shooting, even if it is with the aim. But my point was just like, if it's there, yeah, sure, somebody's going to grab the aim controller and they might try it. But unless it's the full game, I just don't see it being a draw per se. It'll just be an addition. And it'll be cool, but I would be very surprised if that's where they leave it. It just seems weird to me to even bring it in unless you're bringing it in for the game, or at minimum a few certain missions. I could see that, which would suck. But to just do shooting practice, as cool as it is, I just would really be bizarre to me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to stop with the skeet challenges. I think that they could with a fair amount of work, uh, redo the game to support aim controller, much the way that Arizona Sunshine did, and implementing the two-handed weapons. If you want to play that through that with the aim controller, you can. I think that Blood and Truth could do the same thing. At the very least, they could, much like Arizona Sunshine did, add a DLC chapter, some other kind of story, paid DLC, 2 hour long campaign mission to play through with the aim controller. That very well could be what they're doing as well. I think either way, it would sell copies of their game, even more so than what they already have.
Yeah, I agree. Because the aim's so, I mean, the tracking is just so good, so spot on. And, I just, most of the games, the move controllers are good, but, I'm always going to want to use a joystick. So once they solve that problem, that solves a lot. Until then, let me use the aim and I will love you forever. So.
Well, this happens to be one of those titles where the lack of a joystick, not such a big deal because of the way the movement is.
Yeah, you're right. And that is one of the things that I forget about this game is it is node to node. So you're not really, it takes that whole thing away from you. So this is probably the best case scenario for the moves.
Yeah, it's just an outstanding game. And I think that when you get in there tomorrow and check it out, you're going to remember just how good this game is. This is a fucking awesome game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it already. I might actually not go to bed tonight, and I just might play some of this tonight.
Yeah, I'm considering it myself.
Yeah.
Speaking of awesome PlayStation VR games, let's talk about another PSVR exclusive, Intruders, Hide and Seek. This is a game, it's a stealth, story-driven stealth game. Ruuts and I both played it completely through and reviewed on the channel, a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that. Anyway, a game that at first seems very tedious, somewhat frustrating, but as the story unfolds, it hooks you. And up at this point, it's one of my favorite games I've played through this year. I don't know about you, Ruuts, but we found out this week, Tessera Studios announced that this game is coming to Steam. When? Next week. Just a couple of days. This game's coming out on Steam, and I'm super excited for that. This is an award-winning game. One of the best instances of storytelling that I've ever experienced in VR, and I'm excited to see what the PC VR community has to say about this. Ruuts, how do you think that Intruders is going to be received by PC VR?
I think people will like it. People are looking for a good stealth game, and this is a good one. It's kind of like Republic, or this is even the story on this is just so good. I'd love to play through it again on PC, and hopefully the devs see this and they feel generous enough to give us another key for the PC version, because they gave us the key for Intruders, and it was, like you said, one of my favorite games on PlayStation this year, and I'd like to compare it. So
yeah, I agree. I was actually planning on sending them an email request for it, because they were kind enough to let us review this game on PlayStation VR, and they seem to be very appreciative of our coverage. So yeah, why not? Let's play it again. I'm interested to see how enjoyable it is, knowing the story going in, because this game was 100% about the story, and now we kind of know what's going to happen. I wonder if the stealth element is going to hold up, or is with the story stripped away, is it just going to be frustration? But the biggest flaw with the game was probably graphical flaws, aliasing and that sort of thing.
If you can crank it up, dude, it's going to look so good. And then think about this, you already know, another big thing about this that was frustrating in the beginning was learning the house, but the house. So you're going to right off the bat, It should make the stealth options a lot easier. I bet you could play through it in a quarter or probably half the time.
Yeah, and as I recall, there was an option for the ending. So this game may have an alternate ending if you make the other choice. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. You know, it's worth playing through for that reason alone, and then talking about it on the Monday show, probably.
I think that sounds like an excellent plan. We've already reviewed it, so this would be an obvious candidate for the Monday show. So
Mhm.
we're gonna do our best to get access to this, and I think it's pretty unanimous. Ruuts and I both here enjoyed this game immensely, and are looking forward to seeing what the PC version has to offer. All right, so that's enough about known games. Let's talk about some new games. Let's talk about Panther VR. Well, what is Panther VR, you might be saying? Well, Panther VR is yet another stealth adventure game. It's been in production for 2 years from Wolfdog Interactive. And for those of you who don't know, Wolfdog Interactive is the developer who brought us Skyworld and VR Dungeon Night. Ruuts, have you tried either one of those games?
No, actually, I thought about trying VR Dungeon Nights, but Skyworld just didn't really. I mean, every time I've looked at it, it just didn't really seem like something that I would get into. But I've heard it's good.
Yeah, VR Dungeon Night, it's a popular one in our Discord. Am I correct about that?
I believe so. I don't know. I know that we've. This is the problem, and it's not a problem with that game, and it's not a problem with this, but it's like they all got together 2-3 years ago and said, okay, let's do a stealth adventure game, or let's, like they have all these games coming out one after another, and same thing with the other genre. It's just like after a while you're like, okay, it's another one, and hopefully this will be really good, but at some point it's going to become, for me, like puzzle games, or it's going to become just played out.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. The reason why we're talking about this game is because it went into a Kickstarter campaign this past week. You can buy into this game for around $23 US, and what that's going to give you, among other things, is early access on Steam. Now, that said, this Steam early access is going to be in April of 2020.
Oh,
so we've already got Intruders. We've already got Rogan. We're getting Aspire 1. We're getting Budget Cuts 2. We're getting Phantom, Covert Ops. All of this stuff we're going to have before then. These are all stealth games. So, I think this is going to be an awesome game. But are we going to be burnt out on this type of game by the time we get to it? That's really the question.
Yeah, and the thing is like, I mean, I was ready to go look it up and pay for it now. I want to play it now. I don't want to wait till April 2020 to try the early access, right? Is that when you get the free copy that you get for doing the Kickstarter? Yeah, it's too long, man. I maybe it's not. I mean, it's 7 months, but it's just what's the benefit for me? Like I said, I want to, I want to do it now. I'm impatient,
Yeah, I get you. This game looks cool. I think it would be a better time for it to come out now. But then again, who knows? Maybe all these games come out in the next month, and by the time April rolls around, we're ready for another good stealth adventure. The premise here is that you are a master thief, and you do contract work. These corporations and the elite, the powerful of the world, they're hiring you to steal things that can't be paid for. And that's kind of the premise here. It looks really cool. It's been in development for a long time. They've pretty much come right out and said that the Kickstarter is just a marketing technique. They're not trying to, their goal is very small, and they're just trying to market their game. They said it's coming regardless of whether or not they meet their Kickstarter goal. They're just basically trying to promote it by having a Kickstarter.
Let me ask you this: what is the date or do they say like estimated date that they will release it if you don't get the Kickstarter? Is it like May, June? Like, you know, I mean, then it would be like, well, screw it, I'll just wait. You know, there's got to be some incentive. You know, there's got to be time. There's got to be, you know, I mean, it's not only $23, and what's the final game going to cost as well? And that would be something that would be good to know. But yeah, it does look really good, though. I will give it that. I mean, it doesn't look like it's a bad game. It looks very, you know, involved and very detailed. So,
Yeah, I think so too. But in a day and age that there's a Kickstarter every week, a new VR game in Kickstarter, I agree. That's a long way away. And to come right out and tell people, hey, we're going to make the game regardless of whether or not you support it. Yeah. Well, then again, though, it's not a big goal. It was something like 15,000, 16,000, something like that they're trying to pull together here. That's not a lot of money for a Kickstarter campaign.
yeah, they got us talking about it. So, I mean, it's getting people talking about it, podcasts and stuff. So it's why not? You're getting support and you're getting free advertisement, really.
Yeah. So I think that was the purpose for sure. So mission accomplished, right?
Yeah, smart.
All right. So moving right down the list, let's talk about a little lesser known game even than this, and it's a game that released this past week called Loco Parentis. This was a game that was known at one time as Adoption, but it just released this past week on Steam under the title Loco Parentis. It released as a flat game with VR support coming soon, right? Released on Friday, September 20th by Fair Game Studio for $25. Playable today on flat screens, VR coming. You are the tenant of a haunted apartment building and are confronted by the spirit of a little girl. You're trying to find out what happened to her parents as you solve puzzles and try to survive this surreal, horrific experience. Ruuts. I said it last week. Where are all the October horror games? And watching the footage of this game and reading about it, this thing seems like my sort of thing. I mean, I like horror games. I like all horror games, but surreal horror is chief among them. I like to feel like I'm in a living nightmare, and that's what this game looks like to me. And I couldn't be more excited to try it out. What say you?
Yeah, it looks really good. Actually, I was just looking it up on Steam and to see if I could buy it, you know, with the VR. And like you said, it says coming soon. I wish I had a date on it. You know, again, there's no, like, really what they should have done. It should be, if it just came out, it should be $19.99 to try to get people to get into it, you know, for a little bit early. And then I'd buy it. But I would get it right now, but I would be tempted to play it before I get into VR. And I just don't think this game would be as creepy as hell as it looks like, man. It looks really creepy. I'd like to see a Let's Play of Alex playing it, actually. That would be, I'd pay money, Alex, for you to play this game and watch you play the full playthrough.
Yeah, I'd like to see a Let's Watch of him watching the trailer even.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's creepy, dude. This thing looks creepy as hell, but it looks like I can only imagine what it's going to look like in VR, and I hope it comes soon.
Yeah, I hope people support it. You know, not a very well-known game, a very good-looking game. There's about a dozen or so reviews on there, 2 or 3 of them negative, but from what I can tell, it's just day one jank people are complaining about. There was one person that left a very negative review, but his whole beef was this game is obviously made for VR, and they didn't implement the flat controls very well.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that, dude. Yeah, suck it, flat gamers. Finally, you get a little bit of our jank. Ooh, you know. It's just maybe I think that's going to start happening more and more, right? A lot of games that if they become more like this is a game that, like I just said, you know, it could do well on a flat screen, but it'll never translate the same as it would in VR because when you're in there, it's creepy as hell, man. When it's on a flat screen, dude, you could put anything on a flat screen and I can play it. You know, you throw me in VR and I'm gonna play it, but I'm gonna, you know, scream and run away and say I'm sorry and everything I did in Resident Evil 7. So
Yeah, it just points to what I've said many times on this program. One of the great things about the VR platform as it is today, I mean, there's a lot of things we aspire to and we want to break through to the mainstream so we can get AAA games. But the beautiful thing about the games that we're getting today is they're coming from people despite the fact that they know that they're not going to get rich off of it. People are making these games because they're passionate about it, because they love it, because they know that VR is the medium that their games were meant to be realized in. So even though there might be a lot of jank, a lot of games might not even get finished due to lack of funding, I always have a deeper appreciation for these indie titles that actually make it to release, because I know that this guy's been eating beans and rice for 3 years just so he could make his game the way that he wanted to make it in VR.
yeah, and it just looks like he nailed it. I can't wait to see what it looks like, you know, in VR and just the presence and just to feel immersed in, like you said, a living nightmare, which is exactly what this looks like. So plus it looks like it's going to be a really weird story as well. So who knows what the hell this thing's going to be about.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick it up when VR support gets added. I'm not going to just pick up the flat game because too many times promises have gone unfulfilled and I'm not familiar with this developer. But hopefully if you're watching this at some point, Mr. Fair Games Studios developer, the moment that you add VR support for this game, I'll buy it. So count me in. This is my sort of thing.
Or send Virtual Strangers a couple keys and we'll check it out and review it. That sounds even better.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And if it's awesome, if it turns out to be awesome, we'll probably buy it anyway, even if you do send us keys. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that a lot, actually.
Right. You want to support guys like this. I mean, Ubisoft doesn't need our money, but Fair Game Studios, I'm willing to bet, does.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit now about another indie title that has come a long way since it initially announced in the Steam Early Access. And I'm talking, of course, about Contagion VR Outbreak. You know, we've detailed on this program many times about how Contagion VR is up against the clock here with new stuff coming from Arizona Sunshine, 2 Walking Dead games coming, After the Fall coming. Time's limited for Contagion, and they seem to know this because from what I keep reading, every time they put out an update, they're making gigantic strides with this game. And they put out another development update this past week. As usual, as has been the case pretty much since the start of the year, more big strides have been made. They've laid down, they've pretty much completed the base design of the 4th mission for this game, complete with drivable vehicles. So you're going to be able to get into some kind of a vehicle and drive around in it. They also released a patch that remedies most of the bugs that were present in Mission 3. So Mission 3 a lot more playable now, apparently. And the biggest news out of this dev update, they pulled back the curtain on the PDSVR process a little bit. They said they submitted their game to Sony QA back in August. It was, of course, as most games are, declined. But unlike the Oculus Quest declines, the Sony store came back with specific things that needed to be fixed. The Contagion development crew has assured us that they have fixed every single thing that Sony pointed out to them. It has been resubmitted. It's currently pending Sony QA review, and they are hopeful to release on PSVR this month, maybe. So that's what their hopes are. They want to get it out this month, but if not, they do think that it's going to be out very soon. And I think that alone, Ruuts, says a lot about the quality level of this game. Sony won't publish no crap, man.
Right.
And it's been a long time since I've went into Contagion to check it out. The first mission was splendid when I played through it this last time. So what do you think? Is it time for us to go in? There's 3 pretty polished missions according to them now.
It's absolutely time. Absolutely time, because I haven't been back in since I bought it when it first came out, and this is a testament to how strong first impressions can be in a game. Like, I had such a horrible experience on day 1 with it. After being so hyped for it, I just have had no interest to go back in it. But like you said, like, if it's that good, I want to try it, and especially before Walking Dead, because like my Nostradamus junior prediction for this game, once the Walking Dead or Walking Deads and after the fall and everything drops, this is going to be a really cheap game, because those games probably won't be. They'll be at least $24, $29.99. Maybe this one drops to $9.99 or $15. But you're going to have probably AAA level, at least with one of those Walking Deads. And it's nothing against this dev. It looks really good, but I just think it's another example of a little too late. They're so close to that window with the Walking Dead that they really do need to get this out like ASAP and get as much as they can before it kind of sucks, because I like we've said on this channel, we both have we both really love the developers, like they create everything that we play. So I want to see every developer do well. So
yeah, I'm very interested now to see what this game is like. It's a testament to how much work they put into this. The fact that now you go on Steam and the reviews are mixed. It got so many bad reviews initially. It didn't seem like they were ever going to be able to make any kind of change to that negative title that's given at the top of the Steam page. But they have. They've gotten a lot of positive reviews, especially over the last 6 months. And now it says mixed. And for what it's worth, I always thought that this game had the potential to eventually be better than Arizona Sunshine. And if it's got 3 missions that are the quality of the first one that I played, then it's very much on track. And it's impressive considering that less than a year ago they lost their lead programmer. And I thought that when Victor Burgos left, it was the death knell for this group at Monochrome. But apparently just the opposite. When that guy left, that's when they got started. And hopefully this game is half as good as they're making it out to be. And if that's the case, then they deserve a lot of credit. But on the short list, I've already said it, that I'm going to be spending all of October playing these types of games. This one definitely high up on my list. So
yeah, definitely something I want to go back into for sure. Now, do you think it will, I know the first mission, or at least when I played it, actually had somewhat of a story. You started in the apartment and your girlfriend, all that stuff. Did the missions continue? I mean, it sounds like they're kind of separate, at least from the descriptions, but maybe, you know, it's still along the storyline. Do you know if the story continues, or I'm assuming it has to, but I don't know.
I don't know for certain. I agree with what you're saying here. When you read about them, they seem like they may be standalone episodes of a larger story. You know what I mean? Different perspectives, different people in the same area experiencing the same things. That's the way it reads. Now, I mentioned this to Alex 2 or 3 months ago, and he said, no, this is a solid storyline, mission to mission. So if that's true, then it's different than I thought it was. So
yeah, it'd be interesting to check out.
We will know soon enough, right?
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we're getting toward the bottom of the list here. A couple more items I want to touch on before we go. One more PSVR announcement that I want to talk a little bit about. And it's a game we've talked about before, and that's Carly and the Reaperman. This is it's a couch co-op game. Initially, it was a couch co-op game. One player in VR, one player on the couch. The VR, it's a platformer game where the VR player sets the platforms for the couch player who's playing on the television to move along on. And very colorful, very interesting story behind this game, taking place in the underworld. Very creative. Not as popular as I thought it was going to be. When Odd Raven Studios released this game, I thought it looked like a winner. It looked like a popular game, but it didn't do too well. And upon further thought about this, I thought, you know, this looks more like something that would do well on a console, because that's how they play, right? This is something made for PSVR. Well, you see it right there. What the news of the week is, just a couple weeks from now, Carly and the Reaperman coming to PlayStation VR, complete with a single player mode. So if you don't have a friend on the couch, doesn't matter. You can play both characters by yourself. Ruuts, you have this game, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What? I was just going to say, what do you think about it? Is it a good game? Is it as solid a fit for PlayStation VR as I feel like it is?
I think it is. You know, I've played it, and I've watched my daughters, you know, they're 18 and 17. I've watched them play it together. I actually watched my nephew, who's 9, play it with my daughter that's 17, and then watching them bicker and not do well, and then watching my daughters like night and day work so well together. And it's just fun. It's fun to watch people play it. And you know, consoles are more notorious for people sitting around and playing together versus, yeah, I guess you do see it on PC, but not as much. So I do agree. This seems to be more of a fit for PlayStation to begin with. And I hope that Odd Raven Studios does really well with it, because it is a fun game. And just the concept of having somebody in VR helping. And I was telling you, it's a perfect fit for your family. You know, you got your older kid that's in VR, allowed to be in VR. And what does the older sibling usually do? They usually help the younger sibling along. So you got the older helper in there, and the other ones out there on the console. I could just see your kids having a heyday with this game.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Very colorful. It's a beautiful looking game. The multiplayer, is it only local, or is there online multiplayer as well?
I think it's local only, and I think that's kind of where the problem comes into, and that kind of sucks, because same thing with Akron. And you know, at some point people are different than it used to be. People don't hang out as much together. So you know, you get a game like this, and it's like, okay, yeah, I want, you know, even Anthony from VR 365, you know, back in the day when this came out, he was talking about how he wanted to play this game, and he couldn't bribe his kids to play with him, and they didn't have the single player mode, so he didn't get to check it out. And so you run into that with a lot of people, and I feel like developers kind of shoot themselves in the foot Maybe if this game had a single mode right off the bat, it does a little bit better. Maybe not, but I definitely think it's a good option. And I think you nailed it. You know, give us the option to have somebody join in. Maybe I want to run with somebody random and I want to be the guy inside or outside. I want to be the little girl or I want to be the ghost dude, you know. Granted, it takes servers and that costs money, but again, you know, what is your goal? Is it to sell copies long term? Because I think if you had that added, it would do well.
I think you're right, but I do think that it is going to do much better on PlayStation VR than it did on PC VR. This is a family game. This is something for you to play with your wife, with your kids, with your girlfriend. Those people who may not like to play in VR all that much, but enjoy these cartoony platformer type games. This is a way for you to play VR inside your headset, but not be secluded from the people who you're around. And I think that this use case occurs much more frequently on consoles than it does on PC, and therefore I think that this is a no-brainer of a move for this developer, and I wish them all the best. Hopefully I'm right, and hopefully they have a lot of success because obviously they put a lot of work into this thing.
Is this something you'll pick up for your kids?
It depends. It depends on you know you know how it is. It depends on how much it costs and if it reviews well and things like that. But yeah, I very much could see it. See us playing this sort of game. They like platformers, so I think it's a good fit, definitely.
Even with your wife, I bet you and her could, like, on date night or something. You could have a lot of fun just playing together, a lot of laughs. That's the fun thing, is like as you're running and you're trying to some of these things are timed, and so you just end up screwing somebody over and they jump and you just say, I don't know, if you have a sense of humor, you laugh. If you're one of those people that's serious about everything and you want to win everything and finish everything, you might get irritated. But I think it's a good game. It's well made, and just the way that you play together, I love it.
Definitely a big time opportunity to be Lucy with the football as Charlie Brown runs in to kick it.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, actually.
Oh, okay. So that brings us to the last item on our list this week. And wow, what a week it was, right?
Yeah.
This next one, not a game so much as an experience, but a really cool looking experience. And I'm talking about Cartoon Network Journeys VR. So what this is a collection of 3 original VR shorts. Now, what really sticks out to me about this announcement is you will be escorted through this multiverse by Gormlorn, a traveling wizard voiced by Reggie Watts. Ruuts, are you familiar with Reggie Watts?
The name sounds familiar, but as I get older, I distance myself with that kind of stuff. But tell me, who's Reggie Watts?
This guy is a fucking trip. He's awesome, dude. He makes music. He's also a comedian. But mostly he's a magician, a musician. But all of his music that he makes with his mouth and a sampler. So he'll start laying down a beat with his mouth and record it with the sampler, and it'll play on a loop. Then he'll add in another layer with his mouth, and he keeps adding layers into the loop until he has these full-on, intricate, amazing songs. And this guy's a trip, man. He really is. He's hilarious. He has a hilarious sense of humor. And anybody out there who don't know who Reggie Watts is, just put his name in YouTube and watch a few videos, and you're going to see why I'm anticipating this title so much. This guy is awesome. Everything he does is awesome, and I expect that this will be no different. These stories are said to be heavily inspired by Reggie Watts and will deliver the sort of mind-bending trip only VR can legally provide in most jurisdictions. So this is going to be trippy. It's going to be weird. It's going to be surreal, like we were talking about with the horror game a moment ago, where that seemed like a living nightmare. This is going to be like a living dream, and free to play.
Wow.
So I'm already into this sort of storytelling anyway. This seems like it may be one of the better ones that we've ever experienced. Ruuts, what did you think about this when you saw it?
That looks amazing. It just looks so bizarre. It looks very colorful. I'm sure, like you said, the story and everything about it will be intelligently funny. I'm looking forward to it. I'd like to see this. I always think back to Police Academy and that dude would make all those noises, with his mouth, and that was so cool back in the day. So I would imagine somebody that does it with technology these days would be good. And I'm kind of curious to see if he's gonna. Well, I'd be surprised if he didn't. But how much of his music will be incorporated into this experience? I would imagine he's gonna have something in there. I would want to if I was narrating it, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'd be shocked if there wasn't at least one of his songs in here. Obviously, he's very heavily involved in this project, and yeah, when I see Cartoon Network, which I'm a fan of a lot of the shows that have come out over the last 2 decades from Cartoon Network, when I see Cartoon Network and I see Reggie Watts, I'm already sold. And then when they say free, oh, come on, man. I'm there. I'm totally there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like these kind of experiences. Obviously I live in Colorado, so there's a lot of reasons, but it just looks trippy. It looks cool. And what you said, I think it'll be, funny if it's from a comedian, probably along the lines of Trover type of humor, or in a different way, maybe even.
Yeah, it's going to be an experience either way. Cool on so many levels. In my opinion, just further evidence of what we constantly rail on this channel. It's just more evidence of VR breaking through into the mainstream. Here we have Cartoon Network. We have a popular figure like Reggie Watts, both doing something in VR. Why? For profit? No, it's free. They're doing it because it's awesome. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, but wait, I just remembered you can't play this. It's free.
Well, I might make an exception for this one.
Oh, yeah, it does look cool. I would.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It really does. All right, so now we come to the time in the show where we preview the week ahead. What else can you expect from Virtual Strangers this week? Well, tomorrow, episode 6 of the Monday show. And every episode of the Monday show has been awesome so far. This one going to be no different. We're going to talk about Groundhog's Day, Like Father, Like Son. This is a title that came from Sony Pictures and released just this past week. A legitimate sequel to the Groundhog's Day movie starring Bill Murray way back when. So Ruuts and I are going to both be giving our first impressions of this story-driven puzzler. That's going to cap off our show tomorrow. Then we're going to follow that up, as I mentioned earlier, with our impressions of the Blood and Truth DLC. Well, at least my impressions of it. Ruuts may just go in and tackle some more of the story campaign. Either way, we're going to be talking about Blood and Truth tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Groundhog's Day tomorrow. And then our discussion topic, something we're going to have a little bit of fun with. Obviously, we started the show off today with a little bit of speculation about what we might hear coming out of this week with Oculus Connect 6, Sony's State of Play. There's lots of games we know about, rumors that we've heard, but we're going to have a little bit of a hypothetical conversation. And the topic is going to be, what games would you most like to hear announced? Now, this could be a sequel to a game we've already got in VR. This could be a port of a flat game, present day or past. Just, it's totally up to you. It's up to Ruuts. It's up to me. Which games, if we had a magic wand we could wave and magically have any game announced, what would these games be? And that's going to be the topic of our discussion tomorrow on the Monday show. And that leaves us with our reviews. And we've been on PC VR for a good solid month, maybe 6 weeks now. All PC VR titles. I think it's time that we get back. Ruuts agrees with me. It's time for us to dust off the PSVR and play some of the better titles that have been waiting there for us as we have this love affair with the Oculus Rift S. So Ruuts and I both picked PSVR titles this week. Ruuts, what did you pick?
My pick for the week was Rush of Blood, and the biggest reason is I haven't finished it, and it's so good, and I want something like you were saying. I want something that as Halloween gets up is a little creepy, but I want to ride a roller coaster, so I get both.
Yeah, the roller coaster segments in this game are actually very solid. I mean, it's not constant roller coaster action, but when it does break out into a coaster segment, it's some of the best in VR. And it's still, to this day, one of the best rail-based shooters in VR. I struggle to think of one better, even today, and PC VR included. This is a great title. Perfect tracking, as long as your camera's set up correctly. Tracking 1-to-1. One of the better examples of inverse kinematics. But anyway, we'll talk about all this and more later this week as Ruuts reviews Until Dawn Rush of Blood. Now, my game is a game that I've been in on and off for the last 2 or 3 months, and that game is Immortal Legacy. I've nearly made it to the end of this game. Every time I play it gets better, and it was good to start with. And really the reason I'm picking it, well, the reasons are twofold. First of all, I want to finish it. I'm getting close to the end. It's like I said, it's better every time I play it. It's a very good game. I want to finish it. So that's my main motivation. It's time. It's time to knock this one off. Second reason I'm picking it is because Ruuts just picked it up. I know he's got it now. I know if I pick it for a review, he's going to get in it and play it and see what I've been talking about. So those are my main motivations. But mainly, it's an awesome game. I want to play it. Tune in later this week to hear not only what I think about it, but what Ruuts thinks about it as well. And thus, we'll conclude another awesome week of content here on the Virtual Strangers channel. So, what did you think? Did you like the video? If you did, click that thumbs up there. And for those of you who are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and click that bell to stay up to date with all of our nearly daily content here on the Virtual Strangers channel. So, that's it, folks. We want to thank you for watching. For Ruuts, I'm Wes. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.